Over 33 years ago, Suzy Lamplugh vanished and has never been found dead or alive. I'm Roman and Spice, and this is Chasing Justice, Season 1, Episode 1, The Suzy Lamplugh Case. Before the video starts, I just want to disclaim that there is very, very brief talk of sexual assault, which may be triggering to some people, and if so, I advise that you don't watch this video. So let's talk about life before Suzy disappeared. This way we can kind of build up kind of a picture of how Suzy was, an idea of her personality, her mannerisms, her ways, how she was as a person. And I believe personally, in order to do that, we need to look back and we need to kind of analyse their life beforehand. Suzy was born into a loving family that were very strong on religion. They regularly attended church. They were a loving family, and Suzy was described as a loving girl, very intelligent, beautiful and obedient, often being the type to stick to what she knows and not to really step out the box. In her professional life also, Suzy was very, very obedient. She followed rules, she followed regulations. She was the ideal person in a way. She really made sure that she followed what she wanted for herself, even if that meant not stepping outside the box as much as other people do. Or, for example, to give you an example so you would understand, she was not the person to turn up late for work. She would always turn up for work on time. She would always complete her work. She would always put 100% effort into her work. Suzy was a British estate agent and she was 25 years old when she went missing. And over 33 years later, the chase for justice continues. So let's talk about the day that Suzy disappeared. The 28th of July 1968 was just an ordinary working day for Suzy at the office. She was in and out, attending appointments at house showings, house viewings, phone calls, so on and so forth. However, that day she had a scheduled appointment with a man named Mr. Kipper. Later in the conclusion section, I will be getting into more about who Mr. Kipper is, but what I can tell you guys, without ruining too much of the video, is Mr. Kipper is still unidentified to this day. He is an unknown man. It was reported that Suzy had left her office to go and attend a house showing appointment on Sharolds Road, Fulham, southwest London. The appointment was with Mr. Kipper. She did take some personal items with her, but I do want to mention that she did leave her handbag behind. Suzy took her car keys and her house keys, her purse containing credit cards, and £15 cash. The appointment with Mr. Kipper for the house viewing was actually confirmed by the police and also by Suzy's manager, who looked into Suzy's diary, and it was actually confirmed that she had an appointment at 1 p.m. with Mr. Kipper, who is unidentified, still to this day. On that very same day, witnesses had reported seeing Suzy pull up to the scene. I was unable to confirm whether she stayed in the car or she got out the car. A couple of sources said that she was in the car. A few sources said that she was outside of the car. However, that doesn't really matter in hindsight, due to the fact that there were people that did see Suzy there that day. So we know for sure that she definitely attended that appointment with Mr. Kipper on Harold's Road. Suzy had travelled in her company car, which was a white Ford Fiesta. Registration number is B396GAN. So around 10 minutes after leaving the office, Suzy was reportedly seen by witnesses at the scene, and her appointment was at 1 p.m. I believe with this Mr. Kipper. The house that she was going to attend to show Mr. Kipper was actually only on the market for around a week. Several minutes after that, witnesses reported seeing Suzy walk away with an unidentified man, presumably Mr. Kipper, although we don't know anything for sure in regards to who this man is. So now what we need to look at is the investigation and the evidence that was found in regards to this case. So let's discuss it. At 10 p.m. that same day, Suzy's company car, the white Ford Fiesta, was found abandoned on Stevenage Road, which was just approximately a mile away from Suzy's office, I believe, which is in Fulham, southwest London. The car was found abandoned with the driver's side of the door open, the handbrake off, and also Suzy's purse was found in the glove box. However, what wasn't present was Suzy's keys. Again, I just want to mention I wasn't able to find out whether it was her car keys or her house keys that weren't present at the scene or if it was both. The police reported that there was no sign of a struggle and there was no fingerprints found at the scene. Although Suzy's body has never been found, she was legally declared dead and presumed to have been a victim of foul play. Suzy was declared dead in 1994. Nobody has ever been charged with the murder of Suzy Lamplugh or the disappearance of Suzy Lamplugh, which doesn't surprise me because it really is hard to convict somebody of murder with no DNA evidence, no confession, no links to Suzy. It's really hard. But we will get more into that when we investigate the conclusion section in the Chasing Justice series, where we're going to be looking more into Mr. Kipper, but for now we're going to carry on discussing more about the investigation and the evidence found. However, in 2002, police announced that John Cannon was the only suspect in the Suzy Lamplugh case. I'm not going to touch too much on Gannon right now. I'm going to touch more on him in the conclusions and theories section. I just want to mention as well that two places were searched in connection to Suzy that were related. These places that were searched were related to Gannon, John Cannon. But again, we're going to get more into that in the conclusions and theories section. But I just want to mention as well that these searches were unsuccessful and police found nothing. No Suzy, no DNA, no incriminating evidence. So now let's move on to our possible conclusions. Conclusion number 1. Suzy wanted to start a new life and she left. The stress of her job was getting too much and she left. Now, although this is the least believed conclusion, I don't believe that we can rule this out entirely as Suzy's body has never been found dead or alive. This theory is also weakened because Suzy's mother Diana had mentioned that it was totally opposite to how Suzy was as a person. She was very obedient, she liked to follow rules and regulations, that was something she consciously did. So to Diana, Suzy's mother, it was very, very strange for her daughter to just vanish, not get in contact, not phone her office, her manager, anybody. Theory number 2 is mental illness, either undiagnosed or a mental break. Again, I don't believe that this theory can be entirely ruled out because Suzy isn't here, we haven't found her body yet still. I just want to mention that these two theories and conclusions are the weakest and the least believed. But again, I don't think that we can entirely rule them out. After all, we don't have 100% proof. Conclusion number 2. Suzy was kidnapped, murdered and buried by John Cannon. Now, John Cannon is a scary guy with a lengthy criminal history for crimes such as rape, robbery, assault, and later murder. So yes, he is actually a convicted murderer. John Cannon was a former car salesman. According to murderuk.com, which is an online database that you can look at, which contains information about killers and their crimes, different categories of killers, if you know what I'm saying. Murderuk.com states that in 1968, when Cannon was 14 years old, he was placed on probation for sexually assaulting a woman in a phone box. In 1980, John was then married and was allegedly having an affair with a woman, and the woman he was having an affair with tried to leave him and he assaulted her, and he was also convicted of that. Cannon has also been convicted of numerous other crimes such as rape, sexual assault, armed robbery. So we're dealing with a very dangerous man here, and he is currently incarcerated as well. He is currently doing 35 years to life for the murder of a woman named Shirley Banks. I also want to mention that John Cannon is the biggest believed theory that this man right here is most people believe is responsible for the murder of Suzy Lamplugh, as well as Shirley Banks. And when I took a look into his criminal history, I was shocked, and I could understand, okay, this is a dangerous person. This is a sexual deviant. This is somebody who, in ways, has narcissistic tendencies. It's about what he wants at his time. And also, what's most telling about John Cannon as a suspect and a person in regards to this case is he's not afraid to overpower a woman. He's not afraid to get what he wants. He's done this before. He's been convicted of sexual assault before. He's been convicted of robberies, beating people up, sexual assault. And also I want to mention, from what I read on the murderuk.com site, he was actually done with an attempted kidnap as well, charged with an attempted kidnap. So that kind of ties into this case because could have possibly, when Suzy was there, when they met up, he could have possibly forced her to come with him. I mean, if this theory is true, it is almost certain she met a devastating fate. But I do want to just stress and continue to stress that John Cannon has never been convicted of the murder of Suzy Lamplugh. There has never been any DNA evidence, no confession, nothing at all. So we need to treat this as theory. Even though this is the most popular theory, we must treat it as theory. In 1989, 3 years after Suzy's disappearance, John Cannon was convicted of the murder of Shirley Banks. He was sentenced to life, which is a minimum of 35 years. In 2006, he actually appealed to get his sentence reduced, but it was rejected. He's currently being held in HMP Full Sutton men's prison. So let's investigate how John Cannon is related to the Suzy Lamplugh case. Allegedly, John Cannon had confessed to his former girlfriend that he had, quote, murdered Suzy by strangling her and buried her in cement. Cannon's former girlfriend at the time had actually gone to the police, which is what bumped him to the whole attack. I do apologise about my stutter. This linked him to the case, is what I'm trying to say. And also, what I find most disturbing is John Cannon actually went by the nickname Mr. Tipper. So is it possible that Suzy was forced out of the car and forced into another car? Maybe she was forced to come with him, walk somewhere. Because let's not forget, Suzy is obedient. Suzy isn't the type, she's not just going to wander off. But if Mr. Tipper was in fact John Cannon, then Suzy would have stood no chance. She was, like I said, very obedient. John Cannon is the opposite. He's a convicted criminal. We know he's violent. We know he has sexual tendencies. We know he's not afraid to target a woman or overpower a woman. And what's most telling is it is dangerous for any woman, in my opinion, to be around him. And if it is true, Suzy may have gone into shock, or she may have just totally panicked. But again, we don't know anything for sure, and there is no evidence, there is no confession linking John Cannon to the case. There is nothing, and he did appeal in 2006 to be released, as mentioned before, and it was rejected. And he was murdered. He murdered a woman named Shirley Banks 3 years after Suzy disappeared. Police also released an e-fit, okay? So I'm just going to explain this to you guys a little bit. Here is the e-fit photo. Here is John Cannon. There is no denying how similar they look. I'm not implying or suggesting anything, I'm just stating the obvious. They look very similar. And this e-fit was actually based on the eyewitness account. What none of us can deny is the striking resemblance. Police did search 2 local areas as well, as mentioned, in relation to John Cannon, and both searches turned up nothing. And the police are pretty much kind of becoming afraid, because It was only last year in 2018 that John Canning had actually suffered a stroke and was described as being, quote, in fragile health. Even in his state of fragile health, if he is guilty, he's still choosing to be selfish and not consider Suzy's family or give closure. Or maybe he is innocent, but that is for you to decide. Currently, the police still believe that John Canning is responsible and is the one and only suspect in the Suzy Lamplugh disappearance. And this concludes Season 1, Episode 1 of Chasing Justice, the Suzy Lamplugh case. I do apologise for my stutter, and I do hope that I presented this case to you guys well. As you guys know, I have anxiety and I'm very nervous when it comes to hosting. But I am trying to learn, and I hope I've done you guys justice with this. All credited sources in regards to the Suzy Lamplugh case that I found will be linked in the description box below. Also linked down below will be the Suzy Lamplugh Trust in case you guys want to check it out. Take a look into any anti-stalking laws, or maybe you want to learn some information about anti-stalking. They have courses that you can take, they have ways that you can protect yourself, they have a support team. And as always, if you know any information about Suzy or her disappearance, I highly, highly urge you to get in contact with the police or the Suzy Lamplugh Trust. If you are experiencing stalking, are going through stalking, or are a stalker, because there's no shame in getting help. And I ask that we have only respect for this case, because this was a human being too. Thank you for watching.